みんなどこへ向かってるのかって？ご説明しましょう。
Supposed to be a discovered piece of work that accidentally popped up somewhere, and it was this old vintage investor video made by Star Park, which was a park that was set up, you know, maybe in this, it had in the sort of early 60s, 50s kind of feel to it.
投資をご検討中の皆さん、スターパークへようこそ。スターパークがどんな場所かって？もちろんユートピアですよ。
We've actually had a tough time explaining what this is because it's so deep into the lore. We started with a game called Brawl Stars. Brawl Stars is a mobile game. We were tasked to introduce the world to the secret fact that it is in an amusement park, and how we decided to do that was to tell the story behind how the amusement park was funded and subsequently collapsed.
Yeah.
Oh, I have such a crush on Steve's work, and my partner's worked with him several times. He's done some of the best work in the industry. It was sort of a given that he would nail it. And then when we saw his treatment, it was just not really a question. I mean, his treatment was 70 pages long, and he had written like a sci-fi novel about these things that would never show up in the film.
I've done quite a lot of work with the agency and with some of the creatives on that. But look, the script was mental. It was because it wasn't really like a conventional you know, commercial script. It was a corporate. It was this sort of fucked up corporate video that required you know, an incredible amount of design to make it authentically.
これは夢なのか？
Nope, it's real.
そう。現実だね。
More real than anything you can imagine. We brought Steve Rogers on. His vision was very much rooted in a very specific era, a very specific retro vibe, but then also notably breaking some of those rules to add some of the mystery. You know, we talked a lot about how you can't come up with something that people can relate to if there are no rules. So here are the rules that we have aesthetically, here are the rules that we have for the tone, and then we gleefully broke them at many chances.
いつものバートルビーを。
There was months spent designing the world and designing the park, because everything had to be designed from scratch, because you couldn't, it wasn't as though you could build like the miniatures as just background detail, because the miniatures were sort of studied so closely, and because it was designed so that people watching it could freeze on a single image and see these details. You couldn't, nothing could just be sort of like washed over. Everything had to be designed. Every aspect of that, of the miniatures, the background sets, the props, all the costume, everything had to be designed. So there was months and months of work in putting that together.
最先端のアトラクションを満喫しているこの幸せな家族をご覧ください。Have a nice trip.
Look, I think the challenge was trying to make something that was absolutely relevant to the game, because it's easy, I think, in a project like that, it's quite easy to be indulgent. But unless there's sort of a rigor placed on the idea and what the film is intended to kind of promote, it would be easy for it just to kind of lose its way.
スターパークはただの遊園地ではありません。テレビ、シネマ、冷凍保存食を巻き込み、やがては世界的なエンターテインメント空間へと発展していくという概念そのものです。
was a constant stream of information on about, you know, what this park kind of should look like, what it should contain. There's all sorts of Easter eggs in the video that reference all the 40 different characters in Brawl Stars.
投資家の皆さん聞いてください。私はもう我慢できません。スターパークはまさに一生一度の投資チャンスです。皆さんの言い訳なんてどうでもいい。お金にはもう興味ないんですか？成功するのが怖いんですか？
This is the most ambitious thing I've ever worked on. It's the longest and one of the most expensive things I've ever worked on. And I did it from my leather, like, sad castaway chair in a Portland basement. You know, this was a 5-day shoot in Australia.
そして最後には
Filmmaking is a collective art. Then the collaborators on this were remarkable, you know, and I think that's when the job is at its most enjoyable.
今日こそ幸せに目をつけてみましょう。ぜひご一緒に。スターパークへの投資は明るい未来への投資です。
People talk a lot about craft and the role of craft in 2021, where there's YouTube and millions of views come from people sitting on their dirty floor talking to the camera. It was pretty heartening to see how well this was received among the fans and among non-fans and among people who respect craft. So that to me shows craft isn't dead. It's all changing, and information is changing, and the way that we take in communication is changing. But the role for something this ambitious and beautiful still exists. Gives me hope that there's a role for craft moving forward, because it's the shit that I like to do. I like to make beautiful, weird, funny things, and when something like this succeeds, that means I get to make more of them.
Star Park, a place you'll never